r/NoSleep. Posted by u/Yeet, Mangst69. Never leave cups on your nightstand. When I was in 8th grade, something unexplainable happened to my best friend Gerald. Like any other summer night, he came to my house to sleep over. Outside, mosquitoes buzzed, rain drizzled, and frogs croaked. The fragrance of raindrops was among my favorite sensations, so I kept the window open. My room was upstairs, far away from my parents, so we were always noisy. At around 11 p.m., my older brother Sam agreed to take us to Taco Bell. "Dude, seriously, you're just getting water?" I ask. "Come on dude, you know I'm not allowed to drink soda," Gerald says, looking concerned. "Your parents aren't here, it's alright," says my brother, putting his hand on Gerald's shoulder. He then motions to Dr. Pepper on the soda machine. Gerald shakes his head and refuses. I wish I could go back and force him to pick a soda instead. There's no telling if it would have even made a difference, but these thoughts persist. That was the last time I'd ever go to Taco Bell. Can't bring myself to go back after what happened, having since cut off anything that serves as a reminder of that night. After enjoying our tacos, Sam drove us back home, and we hung out for a bit before Sam called it a night, saying he was tired. What that really meant was he was going to his room to call his girlfriend. Naturally, Gerald and I headed up to my room for our usual COD zombies. The flickering glow of my ancient television rested on our faces as we plowed through zombies. Unable to handle only getting to round 10 5 times in a row, we shut off the TV and crawled under our respective covers. Of course, we continued to stay up late into the night discussing girls in our class, mostly who had the nicest ass. Gerald rattles his near-empty ice water cup in his hand as he speaks. "You can toss your drink over there if you're finished, besides, kinda gross to leave it out all night." I say. It's fine," he said as he sat it down on the nightstand beside him. "Fine, I'm just telling you, my mom always gets onto me for leaving cups out." He nodded. Looking back, God, I wish I had said more, if only I had just made him throw away that cup. Not long after, Gerald and I both drifted to sleep mid-conversation. It's 4 a.m. I wake up to unsettling noises. A horrific hybrid of wheezing and snoring. Its presence sent goosebumps across every inch of my body. Just thinking of it now, my eyes are welling up with tears. "What's wrong?" I called out, still half asleep, jumping out of my bed towards Gerald's sleeping bag. His face was losing color, and he was trying to say something, holding a cup in his now shaking hand. Blue veins bulged across his face like running rivers. Vehemently, he regained his composure and spoke. "Something's in the cup," he said, now sweating immensely. I woke up thirsty, so I grabbed the cup to have a drink. Oh God! It swam into my throat. It had legs. It's moving around in my stomach. I stared in disbelief. That couldn't be right. How would something alive get into his cup like that? It even had the lid still on. Still remains a mystery. Gross as it is, at first I thought it might have been a cockroach. Now, I really wish that were the case. Something told me he was serious. I'd never seen him this way in our many years of friendship. He looked frozen like someone who had just been caught doing something wrong. What? How? I couldn't even think straight. I watched on with absolute disgust as I could now see his stomach writhing under the covers. Before I could react, he pulled himself out of the sleeping bag and darted towards the window. It was open, of course. But it didn't matter either way, he broke right through the glass. I still remember the sound when he hit the driveway. His body vanished. By the time I made my way to the window, he was long gone. The local police had a search party looking for weeks, not a trace. I don't know if that thing caused him to jump, or if he couldn't stand it swimming around in his body. I shudder writing this. Every night I have nightmares, and I fear I'll never stop having them. The recurring ones are the worst, especially the one where I wake up to Gerald standing beside my bed, vomiting out blood and organs. To this day, I boil the water I drink, and I only drink from translucent cups. I doubt it helps, but I'm not taking any chances. But 4 months later, they found his body. This poor group of kids geocaching in the woods found his bones arranged into one enormous pile. Everything else was gone. They were traumatized. My nightmares persist too, my most recent one involving me watching Gerald spit up his bones one by one. Today, I went for a stroll with my dog, Bella. Took her to the usual spot, because I prefer the isolation. Pine cones littered the forest canopy beneath my feet. Everything was normal. Until I smelled it. This horrific stench that permeated the forest air around me. It made my eyes water, and I started gagging. The sound that came after was awful. It was this wheezing noise. Familiarity set in. I panicked. My heart beat at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Bella sensed something was up, too. She started growling. Now, the sound came from behind me. I slowly craned my neck to see. I wish I did not do that. Imagine how a person looks when they're missing their bones and all their internal organs. It's not a pleasant sight. A rotten husk of flesh somehow crawling towards me, gasping for air. The wheezing, the stench, I couldn't stand it as it inched closer and closer to me. It attacked all my senses. My body didn't know how to react. I began to shut down just like that night Gerald disappeared. I didn't stay to discover its intentions. I'm unsure if that was still the same Gerald, or that creature controlling his brain. But either way, I will not be sleeping tonight, not ever. I've decided to relocate. Unbelievable that I've continued living in this godforsaken town after everything. This evening I brushed my teeth as usual. As I stared into the mirror, trying to grasp what I had seen today, I reached for the clear cup on my bathroom counter and rinsed out my mouth. I wish I never did. Jamming my hand into my mouth, I attempt to stop it before it's too late. To no avail. With seemingly just seconds to react, I try to weigh my options. My frantic decision leads me to lock myself in the bathroom. Every piece of furniture that would fit is now pressed up against the door. I can feel my heart pounding all the way in my stomach. Imagine the sharpest stomach pain you've felt, then multiply that by 40. As I ride on the cold tile floor, the familiar whirring of the garage door briefly shakes the house. I hear the front door pop open. My mom is home. Next story of this video. Posted by u/longjumping_mud6031. I took a cab in the middle of the night. What happened changed my life. I woke up at 2 a.m., feeling ravenous. The hunger I was feeling was powerful. I couldn't sleep, I just had to get something to eat. I went downstairs to my disgusting kitchen and opened the fridge. Damn, I thought. The only thing I had in my fridge was a bottle of expired milk. At that time I didn't know it was expired, so I drank it. The dreadful feeling of extreme hunger tortured me. I just had to get some food. I unlocked my phone and ordered a cab. The driver swiftly arrived at my house, which did not surprise me, since it was the middle of the night. I walked up to the car and saw a man. Almost everything about this individual was boring and average, but the one thing that stood out was his eyes. They looked dead and were red. He looked like he had just smoked weed. At first, I was reluctant about getting in, but I ignored that feeling and got inside the car. "Take me anywhere they food," I said to the creepy man. "Well, what are you looking for?" he answered. "Anything," I said. "What about getting something exotic?" the man uttered in a terrifying voice. That sentence horrified me. It was the way he said it that erected that grim feeling in me. After a second I realized that it was probably nothing and that I was making stuff up. "Yeah, sure," I answered unenthusiastically. "Great!" the man yelled. That blaring yell almost made me faint. It was all because I got drunk last night playing a drinking game with my friends. The man accelerated and reached a great speed in seconds. I was terrified. We got about 5 miles from my house before I started getting even more creeped out. Why did we have to drive so far to get to this restaurant? I kept asking the guy about the ETA of this ride, but he kept saying the same thing. "We'll be there soon," the creep kept on saying. I was beginning to spiral. It only took me a few minutes to start thinking that he was going to kill me. That's when I got a phone call. It was a private number. I usually don't answer calls from these types of numbers, but I had to do something to get this situation off my mind. I answered the call. "Where the fuck are you? I've been waiting for you for 30 minutes. You better believe I'm going to be charging you for this," the unknown man screamed. "What are you talking about? I got into a car, like 40 minutes ago," I replied. "I don't know what the hell you're on about, but I'm out of here," he yelled. He hung up. "Can we please pull over?" I asked the driver. "No," he answered formidably. "What's going on here?" "I just got a call from an unknown number insisting that he was my driver," I replied. "Well, he probably was," said the imposter. That sentence sent shivers down my spine. I completely forgot about my Assyrian state. The only thing on my mind was getting out of this vehicle. The only possible resolution at that moment was to attack the man and take control of the car. I punched him in the head. He didn't take it well. He lost control of the car and we hit a tree. Thankfully I was fully conscious and I wasn't injured. I looked at where the driver was sitting and thought he passed out. I was ecstatic and I thought that I was finally free, but that's when he suddenly woke up and stabbed me in the neck with a syringe. I passed out almost immediately. After I woke up I started puking profusely. It was probably caused by either the expired milk I drank earlier or the mixture of chemicals in the syringe. I started panicking, thinking I was going to die, but then the lights came on. "I know you wanted to try something exotic, so I made you something I knew you would love," said a familiar voice. Suddenly the lights turned on. I looked down and screamed with horror. "My legs. They're fucking gone." The sadistic monster laughed with glee. "Exactly, they're gone and that's what you're going to eat tonight. You disgusting creep, how dare you?" He didn't respond. He just left. I sat there, stuck for hours, crying thinking about stuff I could never do again because of this psychopath. After hours of mental torture, he came back. "I am going to love this," said the sadist. He walked over to me and put a blindfold around my eyes. He then unblocked the wheels on the wheelchair I was sitting on and rolled me over to a different room. The man took off the blindfold and what I saw deeply disgusted me. I saw a table full of different dishes that mainly consisted of meat from my legs. I was surprised that I didn't hurl. I was frightened, but that was only the beginning. I started yelling, telling the guy I wasn't going to eat my legs, but in that moment he whipped out a pistol and told me that if I didn't eat it he was going to kill me and my entire family. I reluctantly started eating one of the dishes and ate until I finally saw the look of satisfaction on his face. I told him I was done eating. He seemed pleased with what he had accomplished. After he put all the dishes back in a different room he walked up to me, put a knife on the table, put a gun in his mouth, and killed himself. The sound of the gun and the sight of a man's brain being splattered all over the wall scarred me for life. I then remembered that he had left a knife on the table. I pulled myself to the edge of the surface, turned myself around, and grabbed the knife. I was lucky that he had only tied my chest to the chair, but thinking about it now I am pretty sure he did it on purpose. After I escaped from the chair I crawled over to the exit. After I got out the door I saw that this place was in the middle of a city. The second I came out there was a swarm of people surrounding me. The one thing that I wasn't expecting was that I deeply enjoyed eating human flesh. It was more like love. I was obsessed instantly. I never considered myself a bad person and I still don't think I am. I just have needs that most people don't and I think that is fine. Sure, most people would think I am a monster, but all of them have never tried the beauty that is human flesh. I want to end this by thanking my unexpected driver for introducing me to this wonderful world of cannibalism.